What's up, everybody? It's your good friend Lukie. I'm moving the mic around, and today we've got a heater. We're talking about Tim Tszyu versus Brian Mendoza. I am sweaty because I just worked out, but I hope you stick around, and let's groove out to the groovy intro. So I view this as a competitive contest, and I've seen a lot of people I deeply respect, a lot of people I like, looking at this fight and saying, okay, Tim Tszyu is going to run through Brian Mendoza. First off, Brian Mendoza's losses are to very good fighters. Larry Gomez, Real Ray Sanchez, feel free to stand up if you watch this video, my good ITR boxing colleague. Gomez is a good fighter who the opportunities in the sport of boxing just never presented themselves. He's a guy from Utah that probably had to work a full-time job, had some talent like Jose Haro, and it just never really lined up for him to get that exposure, get those opportunities. Because of that, he snuck in on the B side. Maybe Mendoza wasn't fully where he needed to be as a fighter, and he got an upset win. Once the perfect record is gone, then everyone doubts. And then Mendoza took a fight with Jesus Ramos Jr. Jesus Ramos Jr. could very well, in my opinion, it's him and Charles Conwell. Those are the guys that are going to be running this division. I used to think Israel Madramayoff would be in that conversation, but he never fights anymore. So to me, it's Conwell, Jesus Ramos. That is the future of this division. And that's just the facts, Jack. So Mendoza's early loss, tough regional fighter that can sneak up on a prospect. And then Mendoza, in the last 2 years, lost to arguably the best fighter at the 154-pound division. Neither of which being damning, in my opinion. Then he rifles off upset wins, retires Jason Rosario, derails Sebastian Findora's career, knocks out Findora. And now he's jumping in with Tim Tszyu. And in this fight, even though Tim Tszyu is an undefeated fighter, to me, Mendoza is everything Tim Tszyu was prior to Tim Tszyu beating Tony Harrison. Right? Tony Harrison, you heard all this stuff like... well, Tony can box and Tony can do this. The problem with Tony has always been Tony just mentally can't stay focused for every minute of every round in a fight. Mendoza in his last couple of fights, that is what he does. The reason he has a killer instinct, the reason he got that great finish against Findora came from the fact that he never lost focus and he was able to land the big punch, the game-changing punch, because his focus was undeterred. He gets in there with Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu, quite honestly, if you look at the analytics, if you look at my clickbait videos, they do phenomenal. And why do they do phenomenal? Because Tim Tszyu's awesome. He's potentially on track to be a Hall of Fame boxer. He's about to be a world champion the minute Jermell Charlo goes into the ring. We can say a bunch of disrespectful things about Charlo. Oh, he avoided the fight. If you get offered a Canelo fight and you can make more money than God, 10 out of 10 people are going to take the Canelo fight. So despite what people think, if that was their family member that took the fight, they would probably sound differently than if they're a passionate fan. That's just the truth of the matter. That being said, Tim missed out on a marquee fight against a really, really big name. Now, Tim is the big name by default in the division. He beat Tony Harrison, a guy who, I think we kind of know what Tony is. He's got all the talent in the world, but the focus can be an issue. And he struggles against certain styles of fighters. We've seen it against Willie Nelson. We've seen it against Charlo. We've seen it against Tim Tszyu. There is a ceiling, even though his talent is immense. It's a mental battle with Tony Harrison, in my opinion. I think that's best shown by when he lost to Charlo. He got on Instagram Live like right after the fight, which kind of you go, why are you doing that? Like, why would you do that? Seems weird to me, especially as someone who's middle-aged. Why would you do that? I don't think I've ever tried to use Instagram Live since I was at the Canelo Charlo fight, and I realized no one jumps on my Instagram Lives. So I stopped doing it because no one wanted to see me. So Tim Tszyu, his 2023 has been awesome. He's going to fight for the third time. He's fighting October 15th. It's in Australia. Mendoza, really credible opponent, hits hard, talented, trains with Ismail Salas, who's a world-class coach, and he's extremely dedicated, changed his whole life, moved his whole life over, and he's taking on Tim Tszyu, who's a superstar in Australia. The fight's going to be on pay-per-view. It's champion versus champion in theory. It's going to be the opportunity Mendoza deserves, and Tim Tszyu has an opportunity to become the best 154-pounder by winning this fight by default, and then those great challenges can emerge. Jesus Ramos, Charles Conwell, Jermell Charlo if he moves back down in weight, Terrence Crawford. All of those fights become that much more interesting because Mendoza has achieved a lot this past year. He's knocked off credible opponents. He's knocked off the stars. He's knocked off former champions. It's a credible fight. People are looking at this, okay, Tim, he does a lot of the Golovkin thing, except he's not as active. He doesn't have as good of a jab, but he puts smart forward pressure on. Mendoza's physically tough and can match that. This is going to be a battle of who is tougher, who can take the punches better. This is going to be an interesting fight. You have to favor Tim Tszyu because the church's money hates to get spoiled. The fight is in Australia. Everything is going to be leaning towards Tim Tszyu. But anyone that thinks that this is just a blowout for Tim Tszyu, this is a real fight. And I want to conclude this video by saying a shout out to Tim Tszyu, because Tim Tszyu could be taking fights that don't matter, don't impact the world, and aren't interesting. Instead, he's taking on really world-class opposition, giving them phenomenal paydays, and looking to create a legacy in the sport, which I think that as fans, that's very endearing. Tim Tszyu's career this year has been phenomenal. He entered, I thought he was a very good fighter, but a lot of people thought he might be overhyped. He's ending the year possibly as the best fighter in the division, and he didn't even have to fight the undisputed champion to leave that impression. What does that mean? Staying active matters in the sport of boxing. He stayed active. He gets rewarded for that. Brian Mendoza, I can't say enough high things about it. I don't think people really watch boxing that much. So they watch the main event, co-main event. Probably only seen him fight once or twice on PBC cards. They don't even know that he had probably like a developmental top rank deal because people don't watch those fights. I watch them, but people don't watch them. He's a really good fighter. Is he projected to be as good as Tim Tszyu? No. But this is a credible top 5 opponent in the division currently. And this is someone who, regardless of the outcome, will win very big fights in the near future. This is what we look for as a fight fan, and I am thrilled that this fight got announced because for Mendoza, huge opportunity, and for Tim Tszyu, this is a chance for him to say, hey, knock, pound for pound list. It's like him and Emmanuel Navarrete are like, hey, can we get some consideration? Because that's what he's doing right here. Great fight. As always, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Am I just talking out my you-know-what? Subscribe to the channel if you think I'm a groovy guy. And boop, hit the thumbs up to let me know if this is a cool video.